What's up, tax fam? When running a small business, it's important to make sure that you're taking advantage of all the tools and resources available to you. When I say the words tools and resources, your mind might immediately go to software or marketing automation. But your toolbox should also be stacked with the right people to help your business grow. Now, this might come as a surprise to you because we're accountants and not HR professionals. But a common question we get asked when our clients start building their team is, what do we need to do when hiring employees? And that's because there are actually quite a few accounting principles you need to consider when building your team. So, if you're in the same boat and thinking about adding new members to your team, I'm going to run you through a hand checklist to help you ensure that you have checked all the boxes of legal obligations on top of your tax and super obligations. Let's jump straight in. The beginning parts of the hiring process are more HR related. So I'll do a quick overview of some of the considerations you should keep in mind when embarking on the hiring journey. The first step is to decide on the role and responsibilities for the employee. Make sure you are clear about the type of person you want to hire, the skills they require, and the amount of wage you're willing to pay them to fulfill that role. Then I'll suggest partnering with a staffing or recruitment agency to help you find the right candidates and streamline the process. Obviously, this will come at a cost, so you need to establish if you can fit an agency into your recruitment costs. Once you have narrowed down your candidate list, you'll need to conduct some background checks. The first thing you'll need to find out is whether your new employee has the right to work in Australia. This is essential for making a job offer or handing over an employment contract and can be done by checking their visa status through the Vivo system. If they're not an Australian citizen or permanent resident, you need to ensure they have a valid work visa. You should also check if their visa allows them to work in the specific role that you are offering. Other than that, you need to tailor your background screening strategy based on the job role you're looking to fill. But some common screening checks include criminal checks, qualification checks, and reference checks. Once you have confirmed they have the right to work in Australia and you are satisfied with their background checks, you can move on to the next steps and make a job offer. As you start the onboarding process, you need to identify what employment obligations are in terms of Australia's National Employment Standards, known as NES. NES provides a baseline employment law, but most employment terms in Australia are prescribed by modern awards, enterprise agreements, and individual employment contracts. Modern awards, often shortened to awards, are legal documents that outline the minimum pay and other requirements for workers by job type and industry. With more than 100 industry or occupation awards, most Australian workers are covered under an award. In other instances, employees may be covered by enterprise agreements, which substitute the awards as long as they exceed the requirements set out in the relevant award to benefit employees. Enterprise agreements are created by employers and employees and sometimes unions. The Fair Work Commission votes and approves these negotiated agreements. And then, employees who aren't covered by an award or enterprise agreement should instead have an employment contract which details the terms and conditions of their employment. Employers can create employment contracts for employees covered by an award or enterprise agreements. But these contracts can't take away anything they're entitled to under the award or enterprise agreement. Business owners have a responsibility to ensure their employees are receiving the minimum wage and other entitlements they're entitled to under Fair Work Modern Awards, and these are industrial legislative documents. This requires you to have a clear understanding of your employees' classification and what modern award applies to them. For example, an administrative clerk must be classified according to the various levels under the Clerk's Private Sector Awards that describe their job description. Although you may choose to remunerate your employees above the minimum pay rate as part of their employment contract, it's crucial that you are aware of the minimum entitlements so you can ensure that your employees are being fairly compensated. Next, you need to confirm your employee's tax information. Your new employee will need to complete a tax file number declaration form so the correct amount of tax is withheld from their pay. The declaration gives you the information you need to work out the amount of tax you need to withhold from employees' wages. If your new employee doesn't have a tax file number or TFN, they can apply for one by visiting the ATO website. If your new employee doesn't provide their TFN, you need to withhold tax at the highest marginal rate. So it's in both you and your employee's interest to check this step off your hiring checklist. I mentioned in the last step that you're responsible for withholding tax from your employee's wages and paying it to the ATO. To do that, you need to set up a pay-as-you-go or PAYG withholding system. The PAYG withholding system ensures the correct amount of tax are paid and reduces the administrative burden on employers. You would have had the opportunity to register for PAYG when applying for your Australian Business Number or ABN, but if you weren't employing anyone at the time, it may not have been necessary. So, you can simply register online through the Business Registration Service. Alternatively, you can ask your tax agent or business accountant to register on your behalf. Once you have registered for PAYG withholding and collected your employee's tax file information as part of the hiring process, you will be allowed to withhold the necessary tax amount. The amount of tax you need to withhold will depend on several factors, including employees' individual tax circumstances, their salary, their Medicare entitlements, and their visa class. You might want to consider setting up a cloud payroll software such as Xero, MYOB, or QuickBooks. A payroll system can automate this entire process and streamline your administration after hiring employees. Next up, you need to set up Single Touch Payroll or STP. ATO introduced STP as a new way of reporting payroll information to the ATO. Under Single Touch Payroll, employers will send payroll information including salaries and wages, PAYG withholding, and super guarantee obligations to the ATO each time they process their payroll. This would ensure that the ATO has up-to-date information on employee salary and wages and will help to streamline the reporting process for employers. It is a mandatory obligation for any employer who hires staff for their business. Like I mentioned above, if you are using accounting software, the STP feature should already be included. Whichever solution you choose, make sure that it's compatible with the ATO system and meets your business needs. Once you have got your tax compliance and reporting obligations out of the way, you also need to consider how you're going to process your employee's super guarantee. Under the superannuation guarantee, employers have to pay superannuation contributions equal to an employee's ordinary time earnings. Currently, the rate for 2022-2023 financial year is set at 10.5% of their earnings. SuperStream is a way for businesses to make superannuation guarantee payments electronically. This means that businesses will need to send employee contributions to their chosen fund using an ATO-approved electronic data and payment method. The purpose of SuperStream is to streamline the process of making super payments, making it simpler and more efficient for both employers and employees. There are a number of different ways to configure your SuperStream payments, including using SuperStream compliant payroll software such as Xero, MYOB, and QuickBooks, paying directly into the chosen superannuation fund, although not all funds allow this, or via the ATO's Small Business Super Clearinghouse. And then lastly, you need to organize workers' compensation insurance. Hiring staff is a big responsibility. Not only do you need to worry about finding the right people and training them up, but you also have a legal obligation to provide a safe working environment. Part of this involves taking out workers' compensation insurance, which covers your employees if they're injured at work. Workers' compensation insurance protects both you and your employees, providing financial support in the event of an accident and ensuring that your business is not liable for any damages. It is therefore a compulsory requirement if you employ staff for your business. You may want to consider other types of business insurance as well, which David discusses in another video, so check that out. So, those are the top things as an accountant that I recommend adding to your new employee checklist. But this is no means an exhaustive list. You'll need to develop a strategy for your hiring process that includes establishing the job description, how you're going to conduct the recruitment process, background checks, and onboarding. Plus, On top of finding the right candidates and training new employees for the roles, you also need to consider the financial implications of bringing on board new team members. From calculating payroll tax to managing employee entitlements, there's a lot to keep track of. So if you need a little help, feel free to reach out to the Box Advisory team. We would love to learn more about how we can help you take your business to the next level. Before I sign off, here is a quick summary of the most important aspects of the checklist. Number 1, decide on the type of employees with roles and responsibilities. Number 2, evaluate the business employment impacts and costs. Number 3, create employment contract and understand your employment rights. Number 4, recruit an employee. Number 5, conduct background and necessary checks. Number 6, employee onboarding and training. Number 7, pay employees the right amount including super and tax. Number 8, keep required employee records. Number 9, report all payments, taxes, and superannuation. Number 10, keep updated with changes in employment rules and regulations. See you next time!